Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your buddy here, hoping you're all doing great. In this video, I'm here to assist you in getting started with HTML. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the content. If you don't mind, please show some support by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Every like is like a prayer for the YouTube algorithm, so let's boost this video together. Now, let's dive into why learning HTML is essential. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and serves as the fundamental building block of the web. With HTML, you can add, modify, and remove content from websites, making it a vital skill for web developers. However, it's not limited to just developers. Professionals in software development, marketing, sales, and even business owners can benefit from knowing HTML. Imagine having the ability to edit your company's listings or create your own website as a business owner. Freelancers can also capitalize on their HTML skills and earn a decent income by building quality websites. Moreover, adding HTML to your resume can only work in your favor. It's a versatile skill that can open doors for various opportunities. The best part? Learning HTML is super easy. This comprehensive course will only take about an hour of your time. Anyone, including you, can learn HTML. Seriously, whoever is watching this video, you can absolutely master HTML. Trust me, it's that simple. And what do you have to lose? Building a website is akin to constructing a house. First, we need a solid foundation, and that's where HTML comes into play. It acts as the basic building block, forming the skeletal structure of the web. So, let's get started and lay the groundwork for your web development journey. After grasping the basics of HTML, let's move on to CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets and allows us to style web pages, change colors, and enhance their appearance. Think of it as the interior design of a house, where we can play with colors, patterns, and overall aesthetics. Next up, we have JavaScript. JavaScript brings functionality to web pages, much like plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electricity in a house. It enables us to add interactive elements, create dynamic content, and enhance the user experience. When you combine these three layers HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you create a well-functioning web page. However, it's important to start somewhere, and that's why we begin with learning HTML. Now, let's talk about what you'll need to get started. First, you'll need a web browser. You can use any browser you prefer, except for Internet Explorer. Please avoid using that one. Additionally, you'll need a text editor to write your HTML code. You can choose from various options like VS Code, Sublime Text, or even Notepad. Personally, I recommend using VS Code, and I'll guide you through the process. To get started with VS Code, head over to code.visuals2dio.com and download the appropriate version for your operating system. Since I'm using Windows, I'll install the Windows version. Click on Start Download. After that, check the I accept the agreement and further proceed. Now check all the options. After that, click on Next and then Install. Finally, launch VS Code to begin. Upon launching VS Code, I highly recommend downloading the Live Server extension. This extension allows you to save your HTML documents and immediately see the changes by refreshing the web page. To download the Live Server extension, go to the Extensions tab in VS Code, search for Live Server, and install the version that appears. Once the extension is installed, we can proceed. Now, let's create a new folder for your project. Under the Explorer tab in VS Code, click on Open Folder and choose a location where you'd like to create the folder. I will create a folder and name it Learn HTML. That's it. You're all set up and ready to begin your HTML journey. Feel free to choose any folder name you prefer, it's entirely up to you. Once you've made your decision, select that folder. Within the chosen folder, let's create a new file and name it index.html. Naming the file index.html is recommended for the homepage of your website. When a connection is made to a website without specifying a particular file in the URL, most servers will, by default, return the index.html file as the landing page. Now, let's structure our index.html file. At the top of the document, we need to include the following declaration within angle brackets, doctype HTML. This declaration ensures that our HTML document complies with basic HTML standards and informs the visitor's web browser that it's an HTML5 document. Following the declaration, we'll create a pair of HTML tags. Tags are keywords enclosed within angle brackets that define how the web browser will format and display the content. Generally, tags come in pairs, so we'll need an opening HTML tag and a closing /HTML tag. All our HTML code will be placed within these tags. The HTML element represents the root of an HTML document and contains two major sections, head and body. Let's create a pair of head tags to include information about the web page. Additionally, create a pair of body tags, which will contain the content displayed to the user. Within the head tags, we can add a title tag. The title tag is used to specify the title of the web page, which appears in the browser's title bar or tab. Remember to close the title tag. Write "This is the title of my website." That's it. We set up the basic structure of our index.html file with the necessary HTML tags and declarations. To view the web page, right-click on the file and select Open with Live Server. The web page will open in your default web browser. At the top of the page, you can see the title. You can place the VS Code and the web browser side by side for convenience. Now, let's add some text to the body of our web page. Type in any text you like. For example, you can write, "I love programming." Once you've added the text, save the file. Great! We have successfully added text to the body of our HTML document. Additionally, we can use header tags to add headings to our web page. The H1 tag is the largest header tag, followed by H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. You can enclose text within these tags to create headings of different sizes. For instance, if you want a title for your web page, you can use the H1 tags to surround the text. Before moving on to paragraph elements, let's clarify the difference between tags and elements. Tags consist of the opening and closing parts, such as title and /title. When these tags, along with their content, are considered together, they form an element. So, in the case of the title tags, the combination of the opening and closing tags, along with the title text, forms the title element. Now, let's discuss paragraph elements. Paragraphs are created using the p tags. Simply use an opening p tag before the text and a closing /p tag after it. You can type in any text you like within these paragraph tags. That's it. You've successfully added text to the body of your HTML document using paragraph elements. Here's some sample text to demonstrate how paragraph elements work. Browsers automatically add a blank line before and after any paragraph elements. If you need longer sample text, you can use a shortcut. Type lorem and then press the Tab key, and it will generate some sample text for you. Let's create another paragraph element. Simply add an opening p tag and a closing /p tag. I would like some more sample text, so I'll type lorem and press Tab again. Here we have two paragraphs. Let's remove the last one. There's also a line break element, br. These elements do not require closing tags. You can place an opening br tag wherever you want to add a line break. Now go upward and add br tag after H6 element. You can see here I have one line break after H6. If you need to divide your web page into sections, you can use the horizontal rule element, HR. This element creates a horizontal line to visually separate sections. There is no closing tag for HR. Simply type HR within angle brackets, and it will add the horizontal rule. Now, let's discuss comments. Comments are not displayed within the body of your document. They are intended for notes to yourself or other developers. To create a comment, use an angle bracket followed by an exclamation point, then two dashes. To end the comment, use 2 dashes followed by an angle bracket. Anything between these comment markers will be ignored by the browser. For example, this is comment will not show on my page. Comments can be useful for adding notes or reminders to your code without affecting the actual output of the web page. Add one more comment before paragraph element. And write in this comment, this is paragraph. Alright, let's talk about hyperlinks. With HTML, we can turn text, buttons, images, and other elements into clickable links. To create a hyperlink, simply surround the content you want to turn into a link with a pair of A tags. You'll have an opening A tag and a closing /A tag. Inside the opening tag, you'll use the ref attribute to set the URL you want the link to point to. For example, if you want the link to go to YouTube, you'll set the URL to the YouTube website. After saving your HTML file, when you click on this link, it will take you to YouTube. It's as simple as that. Now, let's talk about some additional attributes you can use with hyperlinks. The target attribute allows you to specify whether the linked page should open in a new tab or window. If you want the link to open in a new tab or window, you can set the target attribute to _blank. By default, if you don't specify the target attribute, the link will open in the same window. Same like if I set target _self. Link will open in the same window. Now I will do the same thing for Google's site. Change YouTube text with Google and also change link in ref attribute. When you click on the link, it will take you to the Google main page. You can also add a title attribute to your hyperlink. This attribute displays a small pop-up box when you hover your cursor over the link. You can add a descriptive message, like Google link, which will appear in the pop-up box. Now I want to make 2 links in the main index.html page. When I click on these 2 links, go to the other pages. I'll create 2 HTML files named page2.html and page3.html. Now go to page2.html file. To get starter code, use Emmet abbreviation and hit enter. In these files, I'll include an h1 tag in the body section to display content specific to each page. Copy this code and paste it in page3.html page. And also change its content. Go to main file and give path of the pages here page2.html. And copy this code and paste for page 3. Also change text. Clicking on the links on the index.html page will redirect to the corresponding pages, displaying the content specified in the h1 tags. Let's change the content of page 2. You can see the result. Now go back to the main page and click on Other link. Now go to the page 3 and change the content. Same change appear on website. This is especially useful when you have a navigation bar, as each link can lead to a different page. Additionally, you can use hyperlinks to send an email to someone. To do this, you can use the mailto protocol within the ref attribute. For example, you can type mailtofake123@gmail.com and write text "contact me" in between opening and closing tag. Clicking on this link will start the process of composing an email, although we won't complete it in this example. So, those are hyperlinks. You can apply hyperlinks to text, buttons, images, which we'll cover in the future. They are a powerful tool for navigation and interaction on web pages. Alright, friends, now let's learn how to add an image to a web page. First, find or download an image of your choice. For this example, I happen to have a picture of a man. Place the image within the same folder as your index.html file. To add the image to the web page, we'll use the img tag. It's a self-closing tag, and we can customize it with different attributes. The most important attribute is the src attribute, which specifies the source or file path of the image. In this case, we set it to img.png within double quotes. If you prefer organizing your images in a separate folder, you can create one called Images and move your image there. In that case, you'll need to adjust the file path accordingly. For example, if your image is in the Images folder, the file path would be /images/img.png. By using relative file paths, you can easily reference the location of your images in your HTML document. It's a good practice to create a separate folder for images if you're working with multiple images. However, the image is quite large, so we can adjust its size by modifying the width and height attributes. Let's change the height attribute to a value like 500, which makes it smaller. How about 300? That seems better. The height and width attributes will scale proportionally with each other, but you can modify them individually. For instance, let's change the width to 100, resulting in an extremely skinny image. Conversely, if we set it to 600, we get an extra wide image. To maintain the proportion, I'll only modify the height attribute. When it comes to web accessibility, screen readers are used by visually impaired individuals to navigate web pages. It's considered good practice to add alternative text using the alt attribute. I'll provide a brief description within double quotes, such as "This is a picture of man." Adding alternative text to images ensures they can be properly understood by screen readers. Additionally, we can add a title attribute to an image, which will display a small pop-up box when hovering over the image with the cursor. To set the title, assign the desired text to the title attribute. For example, I'll set it as "My name is Usama." After saving, when you hover over the image, you'll see the pop-up box with the title text. Furthermore, you can transform an image into a hyperlink. To achieve this, surround the image element with an opening and closing a tag. Inside the opening a tag, set the ref attribute to the URL of your choice. In my case, I'll link it to the Wikipedia page for man. After saving, clicking on the image will take you to the designated URL, which could be any address you specify. So, that's how you can add an image to a web page within the body element. Just include the image element with the appropriate source attribute. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to join our community of fellow web content. If you need to work with an MP3 file for your project, I recommend visiting the YouTube audio library. Click on the first link. There, you can search and download a song of your choice in MP3 format. If you prefer, you can also use a WAV file. Once you have the desired audio file, simply place it in the folder that contains your index.html file. Now change the name of file, it may be audio. To add audio to your web page, you can use the audio element. Inside the audio tags, you specify the source of the audio file using the src attribute. For example, audio src equals your audio file.mp3. To enable audio controls, such as play, pause, and volume adjustment, you can add the controls attribute to the audio element. This will automatically generate the necessary controls for the audio player. You can customize the behavior of the audio player using additional attributes. For instance, if you want the audio to play automatically when the page loads, you can include the autoplay attribute. If you want the audio to be muted initially, you can use the muted attribute. And if you want the audio to loop continuously, you can add the loop attribute. It's also good practice to provide alternative audio file formats in case the browser doesn't support the primary format. You can do this by including multiple source elements within the audio element. Each source element should specify a different audio file format using the src attribute and the type attribute to indicate the MIME type of the audio file. Remember to always test your web page and audio playback across different browsers to ensure compatibility. So, that's how you can add audio to a web page. You simply use the audio element and set the src attribute to the audio file of your choice. There are several Boolean attributes you can add, such as controls for player controls, autoplay for automatic playback, muted to mute the audio, and loop to make the audio loop continuously. That's the basic process of adding audio to a web page. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Now, let's move on to adding a video to a web page. To do this, you'll need a video file in one of the supported formats, such as MP4. Place the video file next to your index.html file. Now change the file name, it may be video. In your HTML code, use the video element and set the src attribute to the name of your video file, like video.mp4 in my case. You can also specify the width of the video using the width attribute, such as width equals 500. To enable video controls, add the controls attribute to the video element. This will display playback controls for the video. If you want the video to autoplay without controls, you can use the autoplay attribute. If you want the video to be muted initially, add the muted attribute. And if you want the video to loop, include the loop attribute. You can see, when the video ends, the loop attribute enables automatic replay. You can also provide multiple source elements within the video element to offer different video formats as backups. In first source element in src, video type should be same. Let's remove src from video element. Copy above element and paste it here. Each source element should have a different src attribute specifying the file name and a type attribute indicating the MIME type of the video file. Remember, if a browser doesn't support the video format or any of the specified sources, you can add a message to inform the user that this browser does not support video file. So, that's how you can add in video to a web page within the body element. Just include the video element with the appropriate source attribute. If you found this video helpful, please remember to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to join our community of fellow web content. So, let's talk about a few useful text formatting tags that you might find interesting. Let's take p tag and write this as the normal text between the opening and closing tags. Now copy this p element and paste it 9 times. We'll start with the b tag, which is used to make text bold. Simply surround the text you want to make bold with the b opening and closing tags. Next, we have the I tag, which is used for italicizing text. Surround the text you want to make italic with I tags. You can also make text appear bigger or smaller using the big and small tags, respectively. Just enclose the text with the appropriate tags. To small text, you can use the small tag. Surround the text you want to small with the small tags. For subscript the text, we use the sub tag. Surround the text you want to subscript with the sub tags. Next we have subtag to superscript the text. Surround the text you want to superscript with the subtags. To underline text, you can use the ins tag. Surround the text you want to underline with the ins tags. If you want to strike through text, you can use the del tag. Place the text you want to strike through between the del tags. Lastly, we have the mark tag, which highlights or marks the specified text. Wrap the text you want to mark with the mark tags. Those are a few text formatting tags that you can use in HTML. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Alright, now we will learn how to make a list in HTML. There are three types of lists: unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists. For an unordered list, we use the ul tag. Inside the ul tag, we place each list item between li tags. The list items will be displayed with bullet points. For an ordered list, we use the ol tag. Similarly, we place each list item between li tags within the ol tag. The list items will be displayed with numbers or other ordered markers. Lastly, for a description list, we use the dl tag. Inside the dl tag, we use the dt tag to define the term or item, and the dd tag to provide the description or details. Let's start with unordered lists. To create an unordered list, you simply use a pair of ul tags. Within these tags, you can add individual list items using li tags. For example, let's consider a list of items for making a tea. We can list the items such as milk, water, and sugar. Each item is enclosed in li tags to create the list. Additionally, you can create nested lists within a list. For instance, if you want to add a sublist of water to an unordered list item, you can create another unordered list within it. Here's an example. Water. Sublist 1. Sublist 2. Sublist 3. In this case, the main list item is water, and it contains a nested list. Next, let's talk about ordered lists. For that, copy this code and paste it for ordered list. Similar to unordered lists, but it has one difference, which is ordered lists use ol tags. Each list item is represented by li tags. By default, the list items are numbered in ascending order. For instance, if we have a to-do list, we can use ol and li tags to list the tasks we need to complete, such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The list items are automatically numbered. If you want to change the numbering style, you can use the type attribute within the ol tag. You can set the type to display numbers, letters, or even Roman numerals. For example, setting type equals capital A will display the list items with capital letters. For example, setting type equals small a will display the list items with small letters. Lastly, let's discuss description lists. To create a description list, you use dl tags. Within these tags, you use dt tags to define the term or item, and dd tags to provide the description or details associated with each term. In description lists, we use dt tags for the term and dd tags for the definition. Instead of using li tags, we enclose the term within dt tags and add the corresponding definition between dd tags. For example, let's consider a list of web development languages. To define a term, we use dt tags, and for the definition, we use dd tags. Here's an example. Term, HTML. Definition, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Term, CSS. Definition, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Term, JavaScript. Definition, JavaScript is used to add functionality. Each item in a description list consists of a term and its definition. So, that's how you work with unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists in HTML. Remember, unordered lists use ol and li tags, ordered lists use ol and li tags with automatic numbering, and description lists use dl, dt, and dd tags to define terms and their descriptions. So, that's how you create different types of lists in HTML: unordered, ordered, and description lists. Use the appropriate tags, such as ol, dl, dt, and dd, depending on the type of list you want to create. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Alright, I'll show you how to create a table using HTML. Everyone, let's get started with making an HTML table. Imagine we want to create a gym schedule and show which body parts correspond to each day on our website using a table. To do this, we'll use table tags, which include an opening table tag and a closing /table tag. To create rows in our table, we'll use tr tags, which stand for table rows. In our case, we'll have 2 rows, one for the days of the week and another for the corresponding exercise days. Let's start with the first row and use th tags for table headers. We'll list the days of the week, starting from Sunday and going all the way to Saturday. Simply copy the th tags for each day. Now that our table headers are in place, let's proceed to the second row where we'll input the data. To do this, we'll utilize TD tags for each table cell. Each cell will represent a particular day and its corresponding exercise schedule. For instance, let's assign Sunday as a rest day, Monday is chest day, Tuesday is shoulder day, Wednesday is biceps day, Thursday is leg day, Friday is back day, and Saturday as another rest day. Use the TD tags accordingly, assigning the appropriate information to each day. To style our table, let's color the first row, days of the week, with a dark gray background. We can achieve this by adding a BG color attribute to the opening TR tag for the first row and setting it to gray. For the second row, hours of operation, let's make it light gray by setting a different color using the BG color attribute on the opening TR tag. That's it. You've created a table in HTML. Feel free to customize it further by applying different colors or styling options. Remember, HTML provides flexibility for table design. Now add background to the whole table. For that, in the opening table tag, use BG color attribute. Set it to the orange. That's awesome. Currently, the cells in our table are left aligned. If we want to center them, we can use the align attribute within the opening TR tag. Set the align attribute to center, and the text in the cells will be centered. Additionally, let's make all the cells the same size. Currently, the Wednesday cell is taking up a lot of space. To address this, we can set the width of each cell. For example, let's set the width to 100 pixels. You can replicate this for all the cells. To ensure consistency, we'll also set the width of the entire table. Calculate the width by multiplying the width of each cell by the number of cells. For instance, if each cell has a width of 100 pixels and there are 7 cells, set the width attribute of the opening table tag to 700. There you go. Now all the cells are aligned, centered, and of equal size. That's how you create a table in HTML. Remember to use the table, tr, th, and td tags as explained. Th is used for headers, and td is used for data cells. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, I'll show you how to add color to a web page. Alright, let's talk about adding color to a web page. Although we'll cover this topic more in depth in the CSS series, I thought it would be great to introduce colors here because we can apply them to elements like buttons and forms. So let's get started. To add color to a web page, you need to use the style attribute within the opening tag of the element you want to modify. Within the double quotes, you can add CSS properties. For example, let's say I want to change the background color of my website to blackish like number 292929 because it would look cool. In the style attribute, specify the CSS property you want to modify, which is background color in this case. After the colon, you can provide a color name, RGB values, or hexadecimal values. Awesome! Now the background color of my website is changed. However, we can't see anything anymore. Let's fix that by changing the font color of the individual H1 header tags. It's the same process as before. Use the style attribute and specify the CSS property color followed by the desired color. That's it. You've learned how to add color to a web page using HTML. Remember, this is just the beginning, and we'll explore more color options in the CSS series. I want to change the font color, and I'll go with light blue for H1 element. Instead of using color names, let's use RGB values this time for H2 element. To do that, we'll use the style attribute again. Set it equal to the CSS property you want to change and use the RGB function followed by parentheses. For RGB values, you'll have 3 numbers representing the amount of red, green, and blue respectively. You don't need to remember the name of every color. Just place cursor over the color picker will open. And select the desired color. How about a shade of yellow? Great! Now the second H2 header tag is that specific shade of yellow. Personally, I prefer using RGB values or hexadecimal values because they offer more variety than color names. Now, let's try hexadecimal values. Set the style attribute to the CSS property color. Hexadecimal values always start with a hashtag. How about red shade this time? Each pair of digits represents the amount of red, green, and blue respectively. Awesome! This time, we'll change both the font color and the background color of a paragraph. Within the opening tag of the paragraph element, set the style attribute and list the CSS properties you want to modify within double quotes. First, let's change the background color. Use the CSS property background color followed by the blue shade, which is hashtag 1E90FF. To add multiple CSS properties, separate them with semicolons. Next, let's change the font color of the paragraph. Now you know how to add colors to your web page. In future videos on CSS, we'll explore more advanced color options. But for now, within the opening tag of any element, set the style attribute to the desired CSS properties within quotes. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to smash that like button, leave random comments down below, and subscribe to become a fellow web content. Hey, welcome back. In this video, I'll explain the span and div tags. Let's start with the div tag. Div tag is a block-level element and always takes up the full width available. Start with new line. It means the div tag defines a division or section of a document. For example, if I want to change the background color of the 2 paragraphs, I could individually set the style attribute for each paragraph. Let's change color of both paragraphs, apply style attribute and set background color, it may be blue. Now, copy this code and paste in second paragraph. However, a more efficient way is to surround the 2 paragraphs with a pair of div tags. This requires an opening div tag before the paragraphs and a closing /div tag after the paragraphs. The style attribute can be applied to the opening div tag, and it will affect anything enclosed between the div tags. That's the basic idea behind the div tag. It allows you to define a division or section of a document. Now let's move on to the span. The span tag is used to add markup or effects to specific text or portions of a document. Span tag is an inline element, only takes up as much width as necessary. Does not start with new line. Anything that is enclosed between a pair of span tags can be targeted for styling or other effects. Suppose I want to make a specific sentence appear in white. To do that, I can surround the sentence with a pair of span tags. This requires an opening span tag before the sentence and a closing /span tag after the sentence. Inside the span tag, I can modify the attributes of the enclosed text. In this case, I want to change the style, so I'll set the color attribute to white. It's important to include the closing /span tag, otherwise, the span will encompass the entire section. There are several tags that exhibit similar behavior to the div tag. These include heading tags, h1 to h6, header, hr, li, form, p, video, and more. Similarly, there are additional tags that function similarly to the span tag. These include a, small, br, img, b, sub, and others. So, to summarize, the span tag adds markup to text or portions of a document, while the div tag defines a division or section of a document. That's the explanation of span and div tags in HTML. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. In this part, we will talk about iframes. I'll walk you through the process of using iframes to embed web pages and other documents into your website. So grab a seat, relax, and let's dive in. Iframes are a powerful HTML element that allows you to include content from another source within your web page. They are commonly used for advertisements but can also be misused for hacking purposes. With iframes, you can embed external web pages or even your own HTML documents within your website. To create an iframe, you simply use the iframe element with a src attribute. The src attribute specifies the source of the content you want to embed. It can be a URL of an external website or a relative file path to a document of your choice. However, it's important to note that many major websites have disabled iframes to prevent security risks. For example, if we try to embed Google's website, we will likely encounter an error because Google doesn't allow its pages to be displayed within iframes. This is a security measure to protect against malicious activities, such as phishing attacks. It is a good practice to always include a title attribute for the iframe. This is used by screen readers to read out what the content of the iframe is. Set the title is equal to iframe box. However, there are still some websites that work with iframes. For instance, let's try embedding Wikipedia's homepage with a larger display area by setting the width and height attributes. Width equals 650. Height equals 350. After saving and reloading the page, you'll see Wikipedia's homepage embedded within our web page, fitting the specified dimensions. It's crucial to use iframes responsibly and avoid any activities that could compromise user security or violate website policies. Many websites have disabled iframes to prevent impersonation and protect user data. Alright, now let's move on to embedding another document within our web page. To do this, we'll create a new file called otherpage.html and pretend it's an advertisement we want to display. If you're using VS Code to generate an HTML document, you can type an exclamation point and hit Enter key to create a starter HTML structure. Inside otherpage.html, let's add some content. We'll use an h1 header tag and set it to say this is an advertisement. We can also modify the background color using the style attribute and choose a specific color. It may be green. Additionally, we'll adjust the height of the advertisement, perhaps setting the height to 100 pixels. To embed this advertisement within our main web page, we need to specify the source or the relative file path. Since both files are in the same directory, we can simply list the file name, otherpage.html. After saving and reloading the page, you should see the advertisement file embedded. By default, embedded pages have a border around them. To remove it, we can use the style attribute again and set the border CSS property to none. Save and reload the page, and the border should no longer be visible. So, folks, that's how you use iframes to embed content from another source into an HTML document. While iframes are commonly used for advertisements, it's important to note that they can be misused for hacking purposes. Stay responsible with their usage. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to smash that like button, leave random comments down below, and subscribe to become a fellow web content. Welcome to our HTML meta tags tutorial. In this video, we'll explore the importance of meta tags and how they can enhance your web pages. Let's dive right in. Meta tags are HTML elements that provide additional information about a web page. Metadata refers to data about the data itself. They are placed within the head section of an HTML document and are not visible on the web page itself. Instead, they serve various purposes behind the scenes. It's important to note that meta tags are placed within the head, not the body. Meta tags are self-closing tags, meaning they don't require a closing tag. They also have a name attribute that can be set to different values depending on the purpose of the meta tag. Let's go through a few examples. Character encoding. Meta charset equals UTF-8. The charset meta tag specifies the character encoding for the web page. It's recommended to use UTF-8 for Unicode encoding. However, if you want to use basic ASCII encoding, you can specify ASCII instead. But using UTF-8 is encouraged for better character support. Next we have Viewport Meta Tag. Meta name equals viewport. Content equals width equals device width. Initial scale equals 1.0. This tag is crucial for responsive web design. It helps the web page adapt and scale appropriately on different devices, such as mobile phones and tablets, by setting the width and initial scale of the viewport. Now let's discuss Description Meta Tag. Meta name equals description. Content equals this is a sample web page. This meta tag provides a brief description of our web page, which will be read by the web browser. In this example, the description is set to this is a sample web page. Next we have Keywords Meta Tag. Meta name equals keywords. Content equals HTML, tutorial, meta tags. This tag allows you to specify relevant keywords related to your web page's content. Search engines use these keywords to understand the content of your page and improve its visibility in search results. In this case, we've set the keywords to HTML, tutorial, meta tags. Each keyword should be separated by comma. Author Meta Tag. Meta name equals author. Content equals your name. The author meta tag allows you to credit yourself as the author of the web page. It's a nice way to give recognition to the creator of the content. Simply replace your name with your actual name. At the end we have Automatic Page Refresh Meta Tag. Meta HTTP equals refresh. Content equals 30. The refresh meta tag allows us to set the web page to automatically refresh after a specified number of seconds. Let's speed things up by changing the refresh time from 20 seconds to 5 seconds. This way, we can see the results more quickly. You can see at the page refresher. Page will refresh after 5 seconds. In this example, the content attribute is set to 20, indicating that the page should refresh every 20 seconds. You can adjust the value as needed. Remember, these are just a few examples of meta tags. There are many other types and attributes available for different purposes. That's a brief overview of meta tags in HTML. By using meta tags, we can provide important metadata to the web browser. These meta tags provide additional functionality and information to the web browser about your web page. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to smash that like button, leave random comments down below, and subscribe to become a fellow web content. Now, we will talk about buttons. In this part, we will create a simple button, and also add functionality with small and simple JavaScript code. To create a button, we'll need a pair of button tags. There's an opening button tag and a closing /button tag. Inside these tags, we can add any text we want for the button. For example, we can have "click me" as the button text. If you want to make the button behave like a hyperlink, you can wrap the button element with a pair of tags. This creates a clickable link. The opening a tag will have an ref attribute, which can be set to a URL or a relative file path. Let's keep it simple and set the URL to google.com. So when you click on the button, it will take you to Google's website. To disable a button, you can add the disabled Boolean attribute to the opening button tag. Once the button is disabled, it can no longer be clicked. If you have some CSS knowledge, you can directly add CSS properties to the button by using the style attribute. Set it equal to a list of CSS properties of your choice. For example, you can change the background color using the background color property. I'll pick the parrot maybe. You can use border to apply border to the button. Set it 1px solid number 000. You can also specify the border radius using the border radius property. To round the corner of the button, set its value 50 px. At the end, use padding property to add spacing. I will use 6 px for top and bottom spacing and 15 px for left-right. Alright, that's pretty cool. If I do say so myself, that's pretty awesome. And yes, it still takes us to Google just by using HTML. HTML provides structure to a web page, but it doesn't add functionality. That's where a language like JavaScript comes in. When we click on a button, we can make it execute a JavaScript function from a separate JavaScript file. Let me show you how we can create a very simple JavaScript program, but we'll cover this in more detail in the JavaScript series. First, let's remove the hyperlink and make our button do something else. We can use the ID attribute, place the name of the ID in the double quotes, which may be my button. Alright, now I want to do that. When we click on the button, an alert box will appear. To code a simple JavaScript program, we'll need a pair of script tags. There's an opening script tag and a closing /script tag. Inside the script tags, we'll define our JavaScript code. Now, let's assume, when we click on our button, we want the program to perform a specific task. For that, make a var variable button, which is equal to document.getElementById, my button. This retrieves the button element from the HTML document by using its unique identifier my button and assigns it to the variable button. My button is ID name, which we give to the button. Next, we will make click event listener. Button.addEventListener, click, function. This line adds an event listener to the button element. An event listener is a piece of code that waits for a specific event to occur and then performs a corresponding action. In this case, the event we are listening for is the click event on the button. When the button is clicked, the code inside the function will be executed. Now we will take alert. This will show the pop-up with the message button clicked. Then add a semicolon at the end. Write a comment for this line. Perform a simple action when the button is clicked. You may need to save and refresh your web page. If done correctly, when you click on this button, it will display the pop-up with the message button clicked. So, that is a very small JavaScript program. But of course, we'll cover more about JavaScript in the JavaScript playlist. In this video, we were more focused on actually creating the button itself. So yeah, if this video helped you out, you can help me out by smashing that like button, leaving a random comment down below, and subscribing if you'd like to become a fellow web content. In the end, we will work with the form. I'm going to explain everything I can about forms. To create a form element, we'll need a pair of form tags. There's an opening form tag and a closing /form tag. Depending on the user input that you need, there is an input element, and you can set the type attribute to whatever you need. Let's say we need some text from a user, like a first name. Within our form, there is a text box where we can enter user information. So, we should probably let the user know what we want them to type in. I will precede this input element with a label element. Let's say first name, and a user can type in their first name. Now, it is considered good practice to fill out a for attribute within the label and set this to whatever you want. Let's say fname. Within the associated input element, I will set the ID also equal to fname. Whatever is within the for attribute, this does a couple of things. 1. If I click on this label, it will select my input box. It's also helpful for people using screen readers so that they can easily navigate your form. There is also a name attribute. When we submit this data, what sort of name do we want to give that data? Think of it like a variable. I will also name this name within the input element. There is a placeholder to display some default text to a user. By setting the placeholder attribute equal to some text, like first name, if I click within this input field and type something, that will get rid of my placeholder. Let's create an input field for a last name. We can simply copy this and make a few changes to it. So, copy both the label and the input element. Change first name to last name, change for till name, ID till name, and let's make the name attribute name as well. For the placeholder, how about last name? These labels and input elements will appear on the same line. To separate them and treat them as block level elements, I will add each of these pairs to their own div element. Perhaps I'll add a line break as well. Okay, now with forms, there are built-in buttons too. We will set the input type equal to reset. So, if I were to type in some text and click reset, that will reset whatever's within my form. And there is a submit button as well. I will set the type equal to submit. Currently, our data doesn't have any place to go to. So, if I were to click the submit button, this data is not going to go anywhere. If I need to send this data to a page, I will list that page within the action attribute of my opening form element. To accomplish this, we'll need the help of a dynamic programming language like PHP, for example. We won't focus on functionality in this video, but rather the structure of a form. So, if I need to send this to a PHP page, I will list that PHP page within the action attribute. There is also an associated method attribute. Two common values are get and post. Get is considered insecure. It appends your data to the URL of your web page. For example, if I set the method to get and type in some information and click submit, it will append my data to the end of my URL, adding a question mark and all of my data. If you need to submit some secure information like a password, do not use get. It is more suitable for things like search boxes, where a user needs to navigate your web page using a keyword. It's better to use post for submitting secure information. However, this won't do anything obvious because we don't have a server set up. There is a required Boolean attribute you can add. If somebody needs to submit some information, they are required to fill out any input elements that have this Boolean attribute of required. So, if I attempt to submit this without typing anything, a small pop-up box will appear saying, "Please fill out this field." Now, let's quickly go through the next input elements. For password fields, you set the type equal to password. If somebody types in characters, they will be hidden. For password, set type to password. And for ID and name to pass. And remove the placeholder attribute. If you need to set a maximum size for your password, there is a max length attribute. Let's set this to maybe 8, so we can type in no more than 8 characters for a password. You can also add the required Boolean attribute. For an email element, set the type equal to email. In order to submit an email, we need an int character within our email. Otherwise, we cannot submit this information. Let's add a placeholder as well, such as fake@gmail.com. Also change the text in the label. For a telephone number, you're going to set the type equal to tel. Change all the things like ID name and type. I also have a placeholder for this field. If you need the user to type in a date, like a birth date, there is a type called date which includes an interactive calendar to select a date. Change all the things like ID name and type. You can select the date from this interactive calendar box. For a number input, the type should be set to number. Let's say the user is buying something from a store, and there are arrows where they can increase or decrease the quantity. Set type to number. And for ID and name to quantity. However, we should place some limits. They shouldn't be able to type in any number they want, like a -1 billion items. We can set the minimum, min, value to 0 and the maximum, max, value to 10. Additionally, we can set a default value, and in this case, I'll set it to 1. Next, we have radio buttons. With radio buttons, we can only select one option from a group. Let's say we want the user to select a title, such as HTML, CSS, or JS. I will create a pair of labels and input elements for each option. For example, we'll have an HTML option, a CSS option, and a JS option. I will set the input type to radio for each of these pairs. So we can select more than one option because these are all not within the same group. To set them all within the same group, we will have them all with the same matching name. Let's say the name will be rad. Therefore, we can only select one option now since they're all within the same group. That's the idea behind radio buttons, you can only select one. We will set an associated value for each option. For example, HTML for the first value, CSS for the second, and JS for the last one. I will precede each of these with a separate label. Let's say title, and I will set the for attribute equal to rad. Within each of these radio button labels, when I click on one of these labels, I also want to be able to select the corresponding radio button. So, I will set the for attribute equal to a unique ID. For example, HTML will have an ID of HTML. Repeat the same steps for the other options. When we click on these labels, we should be able to select our radio buttons. Nice! Next, we have to create a drop-down menu for country. For that, take label tag in the div tag. For drop-down menus, instead of a type attribute, we are going to use a pair of select tags. There's an opening select tag and a closing select tag. Within the select element, we list individual options. We will give the user 3 options from this drop-down menu. They can select country names such as China, France, Germany. I will give each of these options a value. Now we have a country option field where the user can select an option from the drop-down menu. Finally, the last input type I will explain in this video is the checkbox type. Let's say we have a subscribe button, and the user can go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Just set the type equal to checkbox for a checkbox. That's how you create an HTML form. There are still some more advanced input types we did not cover, but these are the basics. If you found this video helpful, please remember to smash that like button, leave a random comment down below, and subscribe if you'd like to become a fellow web content.